Good morning, everyone. I am Katy Carpman, the Director of Religious Education here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you and invite you to fill out our visitor card so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. We are a church in many places, some of us here in the pews and some joining on YouTube, from home or wherever we might be. And our world is a different one than it was in early 2020. Our worship service has changed accordingly. We're giving people choices in the pews as to distance between families and whether or not they would like to continue. We've put a few offering baskets at the front and back of the sanctuary for people to drop off their offering throughout the service. Rather than passing the plates, you can also drop it off during the offering. We'll let you. We know routine's important. For those of us in the sanctuary this morning, let's take a moment to picture the dozens of friends, neighbors, and those we've not met yet who are taking part in this service on YouTube, either right now or later in the week as their schedules allow. Please do remember to silence your cell phones so we don't find out quite which ringtone you're using this week. But feel free to keep them on if you need to tweet your favorite part. Following the worship, folks in the pews may head out to the gathering place for snacks and beverages, perhaps head out to the courtyard and playground to chat, and we'll also have social time on Zoom, hosted by Emersonian Marilyn Rambo, a chance for you to gather in smaller groups to discuss the service and what's going on in your lives. Our service today is for all ages, with a bit of a twist. It's my last Sunday here. I get to call the shots. So I have built a Sunday school lesson into the service. If you can, be open to your childlike self and lean into a can-do attitude of creativity and imagination. And now, our prelude.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the interim minister of this congregation for a little while longer. As we work to create beloved community, we welcome all who would join us in building a better world with more love, more justice, and more peace. We welcome all who would join us in growing in mind, heart, and spirit. We welcome all who would join us in tearing down systems of oppression of all kinds. We welcome all who would join their purposes to ours in a loving spirit of right relationship. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. You belong here.
We come into one another's presence, seeking some part of ourselves, knowing that we do not live alone, knowing that we cannot live fully if we are for ourselves alone. We come as ordinary people, each with strengths and each with weaknesses, aware of our shortcomings, our lives set before us many tasks. We are not always equal to them. Too often we fall short of our best expectations of ourselves. We do not know enough. We are not always patient. We fall into anger. We cannot find strength. We do not wait for wisdom. We lack vision. It hurts. It hurts to acknowledge our shortcomings. And yet, here we are. Not always perfect, not always wise, but always human. Gloriously and miraculously alive and breathing. Wondrously and mysteriously human. I'd like you all to say the next words with me together. May our time together renew our hope. May the stories we share refresh our courage. May the songs we sing lift our spirits. May the words we speak invigorate us. May the touch of hands, the sound of laughter, the sight of faces new and familiar restore us in faith. Amen.
In Sunday school, we use a battery-operated chalice, but since Sunday school isn't happening in here, Ruth, I believe you're going to come forward and help me light the big chalice. Here are the words we use every Sunday. And if we can get those up on the screen. Julia? Oh, sorry. Thank you. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. May curiosity and imagination guide us on our way. Please rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn. Come sing a song with me.
When hope is hard to find, and
So you might know that that's one of my favorite hymns because it is technically a zipper song. You can put things into it. One of the kids' favorite versions is "Come Climb a Tree with Me," because man, they love that magnolia outside, right? We cannot sing it that way in a worship service because it violates copyright. So just imagine we did. And we're going to do a different kind of fill in the blank right now. Back in the day, and maybe still, there were these things called Mad Libs, right? We create a story by filling in blanks. So, for example, let's say it tells me to ask for a vehicle. Y'all get to shout out. Bicycle. And so I would write down bicycle. And then when we get to the bottom of the whole thing, or like a dozen or so things, I will read the story as y'all created it. Got it? Okay, so first up, I need a food. Banana. I need something you cook in. I need a number. 1. I need a different number. 75. Let's see. I need a color. Blue. I need a utensil. Fork. Something you would serve food on. Platter. I need another number. 13. A vegetable. I heard artichoke from 2 different people. It's interesting. And a weather word. Storm. Okay, you guys ready? If you want to make a grilled banana sandwich, first you need to put some butter in a pot and heat it to 1 degree. Put more butter on 75 slices of bread and put a banana between slices. You can use 1 kind of banana or as many as you like. Cook until the bread turns blue. Then flip the sandwich with a fork and repeat. Do not use a fork on my nonstick pans. When the sandwich is done, put it on a platter and cut into 13 pieces. Aren't you glad we didn't say 500? Grilled banana sandwiches are excellent served with artichoke soup, especially on a stormy day. Congratulations, working together, you have created a story. It may or may not have made much sense, but you have done the thing. Julia?
Giving out of what is our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Our June Share the Plate charity is the Texas Health and Environmental Alliance, or THEA. Their mission is to protect public health and environment by engaging, educating, and empowering impacted communities to advocate effectively for the cleanup of historical contamination. THEA's efforts have influenced more than $122 million in EPA-ordered remediation of Superfund sites. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries, Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our webpage for online giving, or you can put your offering in our baskets or mail the check to the church.
Please find a comfortable place to be in your seat and place your feet flat on the floor if you can and if you will, so that you might feel grounded, more connected to the earth, which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in, as together we enter into a time of meditation, followed by silence. Today, I'd like you to take a moment to think about the stories of your life, the stories you begged for as a child at bedtime, perhaps the stories you told your own or another beloved child, the story you tell about yourself when you want to get a laugh out of a crowd, the story you're still wondering about, of the journey that's not finished yet. Let us enter into the silence together. Amen and blessed be.
The grout. The Unitarian Universalist congregation, where I served as an intern, that is the author, Marcus Liefert, made a mosaic tree of life the summer before I arrived. Congregants of all ages came together to craft the tree's leaves, using bits and pieces of broken ceramics, jewelry, glass, and stone. There are many precious personal items in the tree, including fragments of the Berlin Wall, a father's watch face, pieces of great-grandmother's china, and a key to the front door of a loved home. Like the members of the community that brought them together, each part is imbued with memories and meaning. Each fragment holds a piece of truth. Unitarian Universalists are mosaic makers. We are a people who bring together the broken pieces of our histories and the shining pieces of our seeking, and piece by piece create a mosaic religion. Our tree of life is found in the stories of our living tradition. The bead from a transformational moment of worship at a youth conference, the bit of paper stamped with the blazing emblem of the Unitarian Service Committee that saved lives during World War II, the button or patch on a backpack that proudly proclaims the first justice issue that lit our souls on fire. But our mosaic making tells another story, too, one that is often more difficult to see, one that is essential to the purpose of religious community, one that lies not in the beautiful and broken bits and pieces, but in the grout. Grout. The chalky, gritty stuff that is squeezed between the cracks of tiles. In a mosaic, the grout holds the image together, unifying disparate pieces into a whole. The grout of a community takes years to lay and settle. Grout happens in board meetings and committee meetings and endless emails and slow-moving institutions. It is in weekly potlucks shared by neighbors, a ride to church, and coffee in the social hall after worship. While the folks who show up for church only on Christmas and Easter will hopefully enjoy the beauty of the mosaic they find, they may never know the power of the grout that holds us all through the seasons of life. We help to make the grout when we learn each other's names and when we reach out across generational divides. We help to make the grout when we show up on Sunday morning without having checked first to see if we're interested in the sermon topic. When a newborn arrives to be blessed by the community, it is the grout that enables us to welcome them. And it is in the grout that we rest when we gather to grieve and memorialize a loved one who has died. Hold us, O grout. Gather us in through time and space and make our pieces whole in community. In our multiplicity, make us one. From each of our jagged edges, give us the shape of communal beauty.
It is time for some grout making. In a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you to move around and to do a thing with 3 or 4 people total in your group. So if you'd like, you can go across generational divides. You can go with somebody whose name you need to learn. And even if you've known each other for 20 years, still introduce yourselves, okay? So what we're going to do is a quick communal storytelling exercise. I will give you, drawn from this bowl, a person or people or thing and a place. And you will have 3 minutes as a group to come up with what story you might tell. Obviously, this is not going to be Lord of the Rings length, short little thing. And anybody who wants to, when we get to that point, can come forward and share their group's story. Make sense? Okay, because Michelle and I are both trained educators, the first thing we're going to do is model. Okay, there's 2 different colors. One's the people, one's the thing. I don't remember which one's which, because I did these on Friday. And they're sticky notes, so they're hard to take apart. Okay, this is our place. Our place is a goat farm. And our people is your Emerson staff. So we're just going to take itty bitty time. If you want, you can hum the Jeopardy theme song while the 2 of us chat. Once upon a time, your Emerson staff went to a goat farm.
It was a beautiful, sunny, and hot day. And Katie was a little surprised to see how fast I drove on the way.
It's true. I always have to worry that I'm going to speed past somebody I work with, but it was not the case that day. We made good time out to Brookshire. We thought we were meeting with baby goats. It turns out they were teenage goats and adult goats. This led to a bit of mischief.
Quite a bit of mischief. Some of the baby goats who were supposed to be in the snuggle pen got invaded by the big goats who were able to climb over the fence of the snuggle pen and get inside with the little goats.
And each of us was equipped with a bag of feed. And it turns out that goats are kind of single-minded when there is food. They could tell which pocket you had it in, and they were never going to let you go.
Never. Not even when we were outside the snuggle pen with all of the goats sitting at a very rickety table that almost dropped on a goat. And then another big goat climbed up my leg, since I was the one with the most feed left at the time, and left bruises this big on my leg.
So it perhaps was more of an adventure than we had planned. But in the end, we went for pizza, and we all lived happily ever after. Okay, so now we're going to figure out what yours are, and everybody's going to use this. Your person is a talking pig. And your place is Costco. Break into a group of 3 or 4 people, and we'll give you a few minutes to come up with a story that you might want to share. Okay, guys, about another minute. You'll need this later. Okay, who's ready to share a Once Upon a Time? Center stage on the mic. Okay, somebody needs to volunteer. I'm going to have to start making up stories. Come on up.
All right, we had 3 kids helping us with this one. So Miss Piggy met a talking dragon on their way to Costco to go buy toys. But then they got distracted by all the samples, like you do at Costco. And they ate so many samples of apples and cheese that they got sick to their stomach. So sick they had to go to the doctor and get a shot to fix them up. And then they stayed home forever and never had to go to school.
It's short, I promise you. Once upon a time, a talking pig was going through the checkout at Costco. And the checkout person looked at what they were buying and said, "Pig, why are you buying all this bacon?" And the pig said, "We're planning a family reunion and we don't know who to include."
Lisa said I can fix this story. Okay. The talking pig walked into Costco really looking for cake. And he couldn't find it. You know, there's never anybody to help you at Costco. So he walked up behind somebody who looked like they were a store employee and said, from his low-down position, "Where can I find the cake?" Well, the employee didn't know who he was talking, and the pig said, "Down here, I'm down here." Well, the employee was just stunned and didn't know how the pig got here and called security. The security persons came along promptly and said, "Well, how did you get in here without showing your Costco card?" And yet he knew that, you know, he needed to make the customer happy. So he did take the pig over to the bakery and subsequently ushered the pig out with a dozen cookies.
Thank y'all so much for coming together. Sorry, y'all. Thank you for coming together and trying something new. And again, we all survived it. A little bit more music. A big thank you to Julia and Sean, who, when given the direction of, I don't know, some 80s music with strong narrative, came up with some good stuff for me this week. UUs are often wordy folks, and we've been telling and writing and illustrating and selling our stories for a long time. From Beatrix Potter to Kurt Vonnegut, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Margaret Fuller, Louisa May Alcott, and St. Vincent, and the list goes on and on. Whether it's a product of our imaginations or something of our own lives, with stories we entertain, we teach lessons, our minds find meaning. Sometimes it feels a little like Mad Libs, where we're throwing out words with no idea of the context. Maybe let's try to keep this for our silly party games, not a plan for our lives. So here's a question for you. This is a think in your head kind of question. If your life were a book, what stories would it tell? Sometimes we follow a pattern, once upon a time, and we fill it in with our own ideas. Once upon a time, I went to the ATM machine to get cash to pay for blah, 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 and we all lived happily ever. And sometimes we strike out on our own, creating a form entirely new, but still inspired by all that we have known. Some stories we create as an individual, but other times we're working with others, like our storytelling brainstorm this morning. Do we have any other 80s kids with us today? Okay, I got a couple woots. Remember, choose your own adventure books. Okay, so these were kind of play as you go, but a book. It would say something like, if you choose to open the mysterious box, turn to page 42. If you leave the box where it is, turn to page 23. And the story would go from there. So let's be honest. Who here flipped the pages to check both options before making a final decision? Turns out I'm risk averse, and I want as much information as humanly possible. Well, our lives are a series of chapters, episodes of happenings, of learning, of intersecting with other people. Each of these has rich opportunities for character development. That said, when we face a hard time in our life, the words, "This is a rich opportunity for character development," may not immediately spring to mind. Quite honestly, some days I wish I had a bit more boring of a character. And good or bad, sometimes our stories have twists that take us down new paths away from what we know and love. The characters in our stories may change, and we are shaped by everyone we have ever known. So it is for us today. After a 12-year adventure, today is my last Sunday at Emerson. Later this week, the moving van comes, and soon after, I will be heading to Pennsylvania for a whole new caper. And as part of my leaving, I need to make space for your future, not getting in the way of your plans and of whomever might be in the RE office next. That will be your shared adventure with them. Yes, that space means that I cannot take your emails, phone calls, or even Facebook messages. It will be my job to follow a new plot line with new characters and exotic locales. And know that you are all in my heart. I've got a few helpers who are going to be passing around some little envelopes, so just as a basket comes past you, go ahead and take it. These are just tiny tokens of 2 lessons that have been useful to me and I hope will be useful to you. Okay, you may not have all gotten them yet, and that's okay. I assure you they're coming. So sticking out of the top of the teeny tiny envelope is a paper umbrella. There's a story here. Remember those dark days right after Harvey, when a third of this congregation had homes that had flooded or in some way majorly impacted by what we thought was, going to be a little rain and a little wind? Well, we'll just say that sometimes I get a little reactive. And one of my first stops was the liquor store, where I bought a big box of these suckers and decided we are going to celebrate absolutely everything. We are not going to let anything pass us by. If we can find the good in it, let's try. So, we're getting takeout hamburgers, and I'm shoving these umbrellas into them. My family was concerned about my priorities, well-being, and lack of sleep, and we made it through. This congregation has been through so much in the 12 years I've been here, and part of it is because we remember to celebrate every darn thing. At the bottom of your envelope is a teeny tiny puzzle piece. If you haven't dumped it out, put it in your hand. Each one of you right now, quite literally, holds a piece of the puzzle. A piece for this church, a piece for building the world we dream about. You can choose to keep this as a memento or to put it in the puzzle box for what comes next. Remember that you have a part to play and that there are so many others, some of you whom are not even here yet, who also hold pieces to the puzzle. What stories will you create together? I think it's time to sing again. A worthy plotline, Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in the Gray hymnal. You may be seated. While you all can't read the liturgy that I have in front of me, I can. This part says, Michelle tries to make Katie weep. So once upon a time, I came to a church named Emerson, and I met a very special person named Katy Carpman.
the Director of Lifelong Religious Education here at this church. And in many ways, my life was changed. I am a better person for having known Katy. She not only carried the institutional history of this church and was able to share so many stories of me, she also proved to be quite wise in her counsel and in her advice giving. I quickly came to trust her and to embrace her role as a partner in ministry of this church. If you will remember, I arrived during June, late June is when I arrived at my apartment of 2020. The pandemic was just a couple of months old. I knew no one. I had never even been in this part of Texas before. I'd certainly never lived here. And everything was new and different and unfamiliar, and it was hard to learn because we were adapting in so many ways. Do you remember we were on Zoom? It was at least a year, I think, before I met many of you in person. It was a long, long time. I knew you from here up. I didn't know if you were short or tall or thin or in a wheelchair. I had no idea. I didn't use a cane, any of those things. But Katy knew you, so I relied on her for my ministry. She also she knows how to do shared leadership. She knows how to work together, how to collaborate, how to be a partner with someone, how to be supportive but also not overstep. She has mad skills. I can't even tell you how lucky y'all are that you've had her for 12 years. And I know you may not even know it because so much of what she has done has been behind the scenes. So much has not been visible. She is largely responsible, despite being the DRE, for us successfully transitioning tech-wise to adapting church with not just Zoom in the beginning, which was new to all of you, but also once we started live streaming to YouTube and getting everything set up in the back. When the pandemic came, she stepped up and filled in wherever she was needed, and it didn't matter if it had to do with religious education or not. She just did it. So I'm not going to do a 20-minute sermon on Katy, although I could. I will say stuff about all of you next week, but today is about Katy. I am so grateful for having met you, Katy. I am so grateful for having been partners with you these 3 years, for working together. I'm not sure I can express it. And I know it is challenging for all of you to be saying goodbye to Katy and to say goodbye to so many people these last few years. It may be a little unfair of me to share this, but I'm going to say that I am deeply grateful that Katy is leaving at the same time as me, so I get to still talk to her. Katy, thank you. Thank you for everything from the absolute bottom of my heart. You have enriched my ministry, you have enriched my life, and I will miss you since you'll be in Pennsylvania and I'll be not too far away here in Austin. Let's all give Katy a great big round of applause. Together, we have enjoyed the warmth and beauty of stories, of this flame, and of this special community. As our chalice flame is extinguished this morning, we can still remember that its glow is carried within us. We can use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirits of peace and togetherness bless your lives. Amen, and blessed be.